Hi, my name is Leah, and today I am making a video about how I applied to colleges when I was 15, graduated when I was 16, and then I'll talk about my stats too. I'm gonna take you through the whole story. It really puts stuff into context. I promise I'll try and keep it short. I'll put a timestamp here if you want to skip to my stats. What I wanted to start with is I actually went to a K through 12 school. There were 4 floors, including the basement. High schoolers were on the top 2 floors. Grade school would be on first, preschool and kindergarten would be in the basement. I joined the school when I was 10 years old. I had actually been homeschooled before then, but it hadn't been any kind of crazy, let's put my kid ahead 10 years kind of homeschool. It wasn't like the unschooling thing where we didn't do any work. We do the work that was required by the state for that grade, just like you do in public school. I just did it at home. I decided that I wasn't gonna do that anymore when I was 10. That was in 2014. That year I was in 5th grade. I'm not going to tell you the name of my school because it's really close to where I live. So the first year I was there in 5th grade, I took, the normal required classes, art, math, science, history, reading, whatever you take in 6th grade. Nothing was out of the ordinary. That year was sort of my adjusting year to actually going to school and not being homeschooled. The next year when I was in 6th grade, I took the normal classes for a 6th grader. However, that year I was actually invited to be in a play, The Tempest, which is by William Shakespeare. We did the junior version of that at my school, and I was a narrator. I kept reading the name Alonzo wrong and I kept saying Onslow. It started to worry my mother. I'm not sure why. So she actually got me tested for dyslexia because she was afraid that I was switching the letters, and that is one of the effects of being dyslexic. I went in, I got tested for dyslexia. I tested positive for not only dyslexia but also ADHD. So that was a whole thing. I also take a little bit longer on assignments just because my mind is a million different places. So it explained that. Anyway, during 6th grade math, I was in class with 2 other kids that were really good at math. And I was, pretty good at math. They were actually gonna skip 7th grade math and jump right to pre-algebra the following year. And I was like,
I wanna do that too.
I didn't. I asked the teacher about it and she's like, well, you can, but you'd have to take a whole summer and do 7th grade math. You can't just skip. I was like, oh. And I decided not to do that. I thought it was super stupid, so. So then, in 7th grade, I took 7th grade math, advanced 7th grade science, an introduction to physics course, introduction to an engineering course. Then I actually ended up taking a high school history course, which I actually wasn't supposed to take. My school actually had their history teacher drop like the day before classes started. So I actually ended up being bumped up to 9th grade history, and I did well in that. I made an A in that. I also took high school public speaking. It was horrible. Anyway, over the summer, between 7th grade and 8th grade, I had been so bored in my math class. I was like, I cannot take another year of this boredom. I don't want to do pre-algebra. I just want to go to algebra. I just wasn't feeling it. And I don't mean that to come across as like super stuck up or anything. I just couldn't deal with another year of being bored in class. So that summer, I took pre-algebra, which actually wasn't that hard. I literally met my teacher and we just went over some basic pre-algebra stuff. It was just to make sure that I was up to speed with whatever was going to be taught in Algebra 1. And then in 2017, I was supposed to be in 8th grade. I actually ended up skipping to 9th grade because I took all high school classes. I skipped 8th grade science. Everything just sort of followed that. No middle school classes. This was probably the year I took the least amount of high school classes. I took high school history, high school literature and writing. My school actually didn't offer any AP classes. We only had honors, which was their version of APs. So I took honors algebra 1. I was 13 and everyone else was at least 1, if not 2 years older than me, which was a little bit of a shock to me. It wasn't that bad though. It wasn't a big deal. No one really questioned it. It was just, it was chill. No one really knew. I also took 9th grade science, and that was just super easy. It was a breeze for me. It was fun, but it wasn't challenging for me at all. So then the next year, in 2018, I skipped 10th grade this time. I was 14 at this point, and I was a junior in high school. Also, I'm reading off a list. That's why if you keep seeing me glance down, that's why I have an entire schedule and list of all my classes and everything. The classes that I took for 11th grade: psychology, algebra 2, history, honors chemistry, honors biology, government, health and nutrition, and mythology. I actually got all A pluses my junior year, which again, it seems like a flex, and I promise that's not the point of this video. It made me so happy because I was with kids that were 2 or 3 years older at this point, and people knew. And I didn't have that many friends that year. I think I had 2, 3 close friends. I just wasn't doing too great that year socially. It meant a lot that I succeeded in my academics. And then finally this past year, 2019 to 20, I was 15 years old. Okay, I took all of the honors classes my school offered. They just didn't offer that many. I considered transferring to my public school, and I just didn't want to go to a whole new environment, especially since my age and my grade didn't quite match up, and that not cost me a year or anything, since sometimes credits from school to school don't transfer. I didn't want to have to deal with going back and redoing any classes. So you heard that I took algebra 2 in 11th grade. I was bored out of my mind. Everything in algebra 2 was basically what I had learned in the honors section of algebra 1. Since there was no honors section of algebra 2, a lot of kids had come from the regular section of algebra 1. I decided I would skip pre-calc. I really wanted to be able to take calc my senior year so I could apply to more colleges and have a stronger transcript. I did pre-algebra over the summer. I didn't have any trouble with it. I made an A+ in that class. In 12th grade, in 2019, I took physics, literature and writing, honors geometry, language and literature class, honors calculus, art, investigative journalism, a finance and life skills class, American Sign Language 1, American Sign Language 2, PE, and a literature seminar. I got all A's. So now on to my stats. This is where it gets really gross. I ended up with a 4.32 weighted GPA and a 4.0 unweighted GPA. So I ended up with a pretty decent GPA, as high as I probably could get it, considering how few honors classes there were. And then standardized tests. I took my ACT a big fat 4 times. This is why I told you about the dyslexia part. If it hadn't mattered, I probably just wouldn't have told you, because it doesn't honestly matter that much other than within standardized testing. The first time I took my ACT, I actually got a 20. For me personally, that wasn't acceptable, so I took it again. I got a 24 this time. I actually did get accommodations my second or third time taking. I took it again and I got a 28. Maybe if I take it again, I'll get a 32. I took it again and I got a 28 again, and I stopped there. And I was honestly running out of time. I think the last ACT I took was in October of my senior year. I actually submitted a 28 to all my schools. I didn't even have accommodations when I took the SAT. So the first and only time I took my SAT, I got an amazing score of a 1020. I got a 530 on reading and writing and a 490 on math. We don't even need to talk about that. And then I took SAT subject tests, and honestly, these scores were so low, it's not even worth mentioning. I didn't submit any SAT subject tests. I didn't submit the SAT. I only submitted the ACT, so that's really the only one that matters. But I kind of felt like I needed to tell you the SAT just to make the whole ACT versus SAT thing make sense. Now, extracurriculars. I was an ambassador for my school for 4 years. I was a team member for 2 years. I was the co-leader for 1 year, and I was the leader for 1 year. My second extracurricular, I was a math tutor for a school near where I live for 2 years, I believe. My third extracurricular is theater. I've done theater since I was 8, actually. So for the plays that I've done in high school, I've counted them as an extracurricular. I hope that this hasn't been too long of a video. The actual recording I have right now is 44 minutes. Hopefully it didn't actually end up being 44 minutes. So I think that concludes my whole high school journey and my stats. If I forgot anything, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm gonna try and post every Saturday. So definitely stay tuned for more videos. If you have any requests for videos, definitely put them in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe. Don't feel like you have to, but there's nothing that's, there's nothing really stopping you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.